Milton Friedman praised Hong Kong as the epitome of free market capitalism and minimal government intervention, contrasting it with the more interventionist policies of other economies, including the United States. His admiration stemmed from his initial visit in 1955, when he was en route to India to promote alternatives to Nehruvian socialism. Despite initially viewing Hong Kong as a backward colonial outpost, Friedman and his wife were charmed by the city's affordability and liberal economic environment, which stood in stark contrast to India's intellectual climate dominated by Fabian socialism. Their subsequent visit in 1963 further cemented Friedman's views, especially after his meeting with John Cowperthwaite, Hong Kong's financial secretary, who shared Friedman's laissez-faire beliefs. This meeting became a cornerstone of neoliberal folklore, underscoring Hong Kong's success as evidence of the virtues of minimal government interference. Friedman's experiences and observations culminated in his 1980 publication, Free to Choose, where he lauded Hong Kong as the ultimate example of what unfettered capitalism could achieve, dedicating much of his later life to sharing its story as a testament to free market principles. So, in today's video, let's take a look into the illusion of Hong Kong's free market. The historical context and colonial legacy of Hong Kong played a significant role in shaping its economic policies and development. During the British Empire, colonial administrators often embraced a hands-off approach to governance, diverging from London's more interventionist tendencies. This philosophy was epitomized by Sir John James Cowperthwaite, Hong Kong's financial secretary in the 1960s, who famously implemented a policy of positive non-interventionism. Cowperthwaite believed that government intervention was often harmful and avoided data collection to prevent bureaucratic interference. This approach contributed to Hong Kong's remarkable transformation from a barren coastline in 1890 to a bustling metropolis with more skyscrapers than New York by the end of the 20th century. The city's high GDP per capita and minimal regulation further highlighted its economic success. However, this seemingly strict adherence to capitalism may have been more a result of historical circumstances than pure ideology. Britain's financial demands forced Hong Kong to be fiscally prudent and self-sufficient, avoiding deficits and maintaining administrative independence. Additionally, the free market narrative obscured underlying issues such as ethnic discrimination and the lack of democracy, where appointed bureaucrats favored the British elite. While often cited as a testament to free market principles, Hong Kong's success relied heavily on its strategic location and unique historical context, rather than a simple absence of natural resources. Hong Kong's economic landscape is shaped by both minimal government intervention and the dominance of a few powerful corporations, resulting in a unique blend of free market capitalism and monopolistic control. While the city prides itself on low public expenditure and minimal intervention, these policies stemmed from financial self-sufficiency. For instance, Hong Kong funded its own governance and defense, a necessity given Britain's expectation that the colony's local revenue would cover all governmental expenses. This financial independence was further driven by the colony's desire to avoid ceding control to London, which would likely impose conditions on any additional funding. In terms of social welfare, Hong Kong's policies were designed to avoid attracting a large influx of migrants from mainland China. The minimal welfare provisions ensured that the city remained manageable and financially stable, but this also meant limited support for the local population in times of need. Despite the laissez-faire ideology, many key sectors in Hong Kong are controlled by a handful of companies, creating monopolistic or oligopolistic markets. For example, the city's container port, the world's 8th largest, is controlled by just two companies, Hutchison and Modern, which together dominate 87% of the berths. The Jockey Club holds a total monopoly on gambling, a lucrative industry in Hong Kong, using its profits to fund various charitable activities, albeit in a manner that suggests a blend of public obligation and private control. Public transportation is similarly concentrated, with only two major bus companies, Canby and New World First Bus, regulated by the government to limit competition. In the utilities sector, two companies, China Light and Power and Hong Kong Electric, serve distinct areas of the city, effectively eliminating competition within their respective zones. The retail market is particularly telling of Hong Kong's monopolistic tendencies. Two conglomerates, Jardine Matheson and C.K. Hutchison Holdings, dominate through their subsidiaries. Jardine Matheson's Dairy Farm International controls stores like Manning's, IKEA, Welcome, and 7-Eleven, while C.K. Hutchison's A.S. Watson Group owns Watson's, Peatharcan SHOP, and Fortress, among others. This duopoly results in limited competition and higher prices for consumers. Property taxation further complicates the economic picture. Hong Kong imposes high stamp duties on home purchases, especially for non-permanent residents, who face a 30% tax, effectively barring many foreigners from entering the property market. Locals, too, face significant taxes on their second homes, which discourages property investment and impacts housing affordability. A revealing example of Hong Kong's regulatory environment is the food truck pilot scheme. Intended to boost tourism, the scheme's stringent requirements, such as specific kitchen sizes and water tank capacities, coupled with a cap of 8 food trucks for a city of 8 million, stifled entrepreneurial spirit. Despite an app to locate these trucks, they were not allowed to move freely, had to remain in designated spots, and pay substantial fees, undermining the very principles of a dynamic, competitive free market. Hong Kong's labor conditions and social policies starkly illustrate the city's pro-business stance, often to the detriment of its workforce. More than half of Hong Kong's employees work over 45 hours a week, with some exceeding 70 hours, far surpassing the International Labor Organization's recommendations. This grueling work schedule, combined with relatively low minimum wages, contributes significantly to the city's growing income inequality. Despite impressive economic growth, with per capita GDP increasing by 58.9% from 1997 to 2015, real wage growth has lagged at only 12.6% over the same period, highlighting the limited benefit to labor from this economic expansion. The slow wage growth, averaging less than 0.7% annually, underscores the stagnant improvement in living standards for many workers. Furthermore, a significant portion of Hong Kong's population lives in poverty, often in substandard housing such as subdivided flats. Social welfare programs remain minimal, a reflection of the government's efforts to limit spending and avoid attracting migrants from mainland China. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the pro-business bias was particularly evident as corporate leaders received exemptions from strict quarantine measures, in stark contrast to the general population. This preferential treatment exacerbated social inequalities, placing additional burdens on the working class, who already face job insecurity and inadequate social safety nets. Hong Kong's political structure uniquely amplifies corporate influence, allowing businesses a direct role in the electoral process. Unlike typical democratic systems where voting is restricted to individual citizens, Hong Kong's corporate voting system grants companies significant sway over the selection of key government officials. This arrangement underscores the profound power corporations wield in governance, shaping policies and decisions that often prioritize business interests over broader public welfare. The peculiar practice of corporate voting is rooted in the city's functional constituencies, which allocate voting power to various business sectors, professional groups, and special interest groups. These constituencies elect a portion of the Legislative Council, giving substantial leverage to corporate entities in the legislative process. This system ensures that the business community's interests are well represented, but it also raises concerns about the democratic legitimacy of the political framework and the equitable representation of ordinary citizens' interests. Adding to the complexity of Hong Kong's political landscape is the influence of mainland China. Since the handover from British to Chinese sovereignty in 1997, Beijing's control over Hong Kong has steadily increased, often clashing with the city's traditions of free speech and political autonomy. The implementation of the national security law in 2020 marked a significant tightening of Beijing's grip, leading to widespread concerns about the erosion of civil liberties and the future of one country, two systems. The principle meant to guarantee Hong Kong a high degree of autonomy. Despite these challenges, there is a hopeful outlook for Hong Kong's future. The resilience and ingenuity of its people continue to drive the city forward. Civic engagement remains strong, and many citizens are committed to advocating for greater democratic freedoms and social equity. Hong Kong's vibrant community and strategic economic position offer a foundation for positive change. With continued efforts towards inclusive governance and a balanced approach to economic and social policies, there is potential for a more equitable and prosperous future for all of Hong Kong's residents. With that, let's end the video. This is Visionomics, signing out.